We're here with Professor Charles Steinfeld. He's going to be talking on ICTs as tools for developing regions. And Chip, I wondered if you could just give us a sense of what you're going to talk about today to this group.
Sure. So we've been doing fairly broad assessments of the ways in which information and communication technologies have been applied in developing regions, but mainly focusing on their application in agricultural contexts. So we've been looking a lot at the ways in which particularly mobile phones have been used to support smallholder farmers. That's in terms of market information systems and agricultural advisory systems and the like. And so what I want to focus on is describing what some of those activities are, how well they're working, and then describe some of the barriers to effective use of these tools.
Is it focused around the smartphone primarily, or are there a whole host of different technologies?
That's a good question. So among smallholder farmers, you see virtually no smartphone penetration. They're all using the previous generation of phones, feature phones at best. And that's part of the problem, because those phones have very, very limited capabilities. So you're kind of left to do things like SMS-based services, which are really challenging for people who have poor literacy rates.
And I was wondering, you've done research in Kenya, field research, and is that given you more confidence, or is it undermined some of your optimism about the role of ICTs?
Yeah, so we did what we called it ground truthing. So we went to Kenya as part of a year-long assessment that we were doing through our work with MSU's Global Center for Food Systems Innovation. And we went to Western Kenya specifically to look at how smallholder farmers were making use of what had been a very widely publicized mobile market information system called M-Farm. And we came away really thinking, okay, we've kind of skipped an important step. We jumped right from excitement about the fact that farmers are getting phones to, okay, here's a bunch of services that you can use, that they can use to get current market prices and all sorts of fairly detailed information that could help them increase yields. But we came away realizing that these smallholder farmers were very, very basic users of their phones. They had just the minimal level of competency. In fact, they called them red and green button users, which meant they knew how to push the green button to make a call, the red button to hang up, period. And and that was pretty prevalent. So the step that got missed was, let's help better educate farmers about how to use phones in support of their farming businesses. There's just a step we skipped.
Is that a policy issue for government, or is that something for education? Who's going to?
I think, yeah. So I think certainly it's governments can play an important role, but I think it's really the primary kind of stakeholders for these types of findings will be development practitioners, NGOs, the folks who are in the field who are developing these types of innovations, and we're working at providing better strategies for how you can provide that kind of training.
I was struck by one particular set of findings that you had about gender, that there's actually gender differences in the use of the mobile phone or these technologies.
Yeah, so that's a pretty much whenever people have looked, that is, they provide gender disaggregated data, they find that women are less likely to have access to the technology, and in many cases what we found as well were that women, the condition of women's phones were poor. They were getting hand-me-downs. that they had less credit on their phones, you know, but also cultural norms made it challenging to use the phones in ways that some of these agricultural service providers wanted them to. So, you know, they weren't supposed to be calling, you know, strange men who didn't come from their community, and, you know, things like that, you know, meant that these services were very likely to increase a kind of gender divide if they were adopted widely. So,
are some of these initiatives actually sort of challenging the cultures of the farmers, or
yeah,
what's more important, to try to innovate here or to adapt to the culture of these countries?
it's probably some kind of combination. I mean, you know, things are changing because, you know, mobile phones are moving in and information is arriving, and those economies are developing pretty quickly. Young people are moving to cities and then coming back with all sorts of different ideas about, you know, how things are supposed to work. And so, but at the same time, you know, if we can recognize where some of these, especially some of these gender-based constraints are, I think we can enhance livelihoods in the near term, you know, in a much improved way. And it's pretty important in agriculture because, in fact, so many of the smallholder farmers are women. They constitute a very large share of smallholder farmers in sub-Saharan Africa, for example.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.